Yo, what's good, boys? Welcome back to another one of my YouTube videos. Now, this video is going to be completely raw, no scripts, no bullshit, no bluff, nothing. So in the last couple of days, I ended up putting a couple questionnaires on my Instagram stories. If you're not following my Instagram, there it is. Go and chuck it a follow. But apart from that, I've been doing a couple of questionnaires on my story to get some questions for this video, so I can spit some absolute game. And we got some gas questions, I'll tell you that much. So this video is going to be extremely valuable. All right, so get your popcorn, listen up, write notes, whatever you want to do. This is, it's going to be raw, and I'm basically going to be answering all of your questions. But on that note, let's get straight into it. Now, I've got a couple questions on my phone, specific ones that I did want to answer as well. Now, the first one is, how long did it take for you to see some actual results? So for me, when you're talking actual results, I'd say like 4 months. So it took me 4 months to start generating like thousands of dollars. Laptops, PCs turning off anyway. Probably 4 months for me to start seeing some big payouts, like $2,000 plus, $3,000 plus. But prior to, that, it was like $400 here, $500 there, $700 there. Nothing was consistent. But when I hit my 4th month, that's when I started realizing, okay, I know how to do this stuff now. I know what I'm doing, and I know how to, double exit. For example, my 4th month, I think I'd done like 3K online, which was, pretty equal to my construction wage at the time. So at this point in time, I was still working my construction job as well. But then my 1st month out of construction, so in my 5th month, my 5th month, that was when I ended up replacing my income. All right. And I was doing around 4.5K a month, just simply replaced my construction income. And that's when I pulled the pin on my apprenticeship. And then went all in. The following month, I ended up doing, my first 5-figure month, which was at like 11.6, I'm pretty sure. But apart from that, it took me, I'd say 4 months to start seeing some actual results. But at the same time, it all comes down to the work you put in, the commitment, the motivation. It was a hard first 4 months, man, genuinely. When you go so long with seeing minimal results and you're putting in so much effort, like, man, I was going to bed at like 11, 12 o'clock at night, waking up at 5 a.m., going to work, and then coming home after work, having dinner, having my shower, and then sitting right here for the next, I don't even know, 4 hours until I went to bed. So it took some long hours and a lot of dedication as well. But yeah, we got there. And I think that's the thing that, people see. People see all these results, but they don't understand the work that actually goes into getting these results. It's not all about the results. I get my fulfillment from actually getting what I need to done. I can go to bed at night with a smile on my face, knowing that I got done what I needed to do. And that's how it was that's how it's been since I started this game, 9 months ago. It's exactly how it's been. It's just make sure you go to bed knowing that you got everything done, and not going to bed saying, fuck, I could have done this, fuck, I could have done that. But yeah, it's one thing that I learned, to not become results focused, but become obsessed with the journey, become focused on the journey and not just the results, because when you do and you don't see results for a long period of time, you get burnt out. So that's one thing that I learned from the very start of my journey, is become obsessed with the journey and not just focus on the results. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question, bro. And then the next question we got is, what do you think the hardest part of starting is? The hardest part of starting. In my opinion, I'd say the hardest part of starting is starting. Starting is the hardest part by far. Because at the end of the day, if everyone started, it's once everyone gets to the dirty work, you could call it, they back away and they say, oh shit, you know what I mean? Fuck, I got to do it now. And that's when people back out, because of the fear of actually starting. And I feel like it's such a common question that I get asked, like, hold on. Like, what do you think the hardest part of starting is? It's genuinely just starting, because at the same time, all of you think that, I'm just going to start, I'm going to start. But how long's the delay been? You know what I mean? I've been talking to some guys that have been thinking about starting for 4 years. Like, why didn't you start 4 years ago, man? Imagine where you'd be if you started 4 years ago. Imagine where you'd be if you started 2 years ago, 6 months ago. You definitely wouldn't be in the position that you're in now. So I'd say the hardest thing about starting is fucking starting. Like, you have to start to realize what has to go in. And there's a saying that I love, and it's, people want the view and not the climb. You know, people want the view from the top of the hill, but people don't want to climb to get there. And I feel like that's why a lot of people, you know, give up and burn out, is because they just see the view and they're not willing to go through the climb. But realistically, I've been through the climb, you know. My mentors have been through the climb. Every single successful entrepreneur in this space, in this world, has been through the climb. It's inevitable. You have to go through it. You have to fail, you know, multiple times for you to come out on top. It's all about trial and error. You need to find what works, what doesn't work, and bring in what works into your next week, your next month, you know, and eliminate what doesn't work. But yeah, to answer that question, I feel like definitely 110% the hardest part is actually starting, because once you start, you know, the sky's your only limit. The world's your oyster. Once you start, there is no limit. You know what I mean? You've just got to go, go, go. Whatever you put in, expect to get out. You know, you put in minimal effort, you're going to get minimal results. You put in the max amount of effort that you can, you're going to get the results that you want. So in theory of it all, it's like whatever you put in, just expect to get out. But yeah, to answer that question, the hardest part is starting. All right, then we got our next question. And this was, what was your main struggle when starting out in your online journey? My main struggle. Damn, well, you know what? Full transparency, the biggest struggle for me was 3 months ago. 3 months ago when I got my account shadow banned. That's probably been the hardest part of my whole journey, only because it was like everything that I've built up has just gone just absolutely back to zero. Because when I got my account shadow banned, it was like I wasn't allowed to post ads. My account wasn't going to get viewed on, you know, the Explorer page, Reels. It wasn't going to come up, right? Yeah, that was hard because my account got shadow banned and I was coming off such a big month. I had so much motivation in the system, and then, you know, everything just hit rock bottom. And it was like, it was a reality check. But now, being 3 months through the shadow ban, I feel like I've learned a lot and I've sort of used it as a learning curve. You know, I didn't let it beat me down, and, you know, don't get me wrong, there was a time where I was like, holy shit, I gotta go look for another job. Like, this shit's not working. I'm fucked. I don't know what to do. But then I just, you know, I took a step back and I reflected, and I'm like, you know what? There's always a solution for everything. I'm a firm believer that there's a solution for everything. So exactly what I did was I pumped more money into ads, and then I started looking at long form content. I started looking at what works on TikTok. Next thing you know, I had a video have over 750,000 views on TikTok. And then, yeah, just with the increased ad spend, I had the same amount of leads coming in than I did when I was, you know, pumping my short form content on Instagram and getting views and leads from Instagram and whatnot. But yeah, like I said, there's a solution for everything, but I feel like the hardest obstacle to overcome in my whole journey was definitely getting my account shadow banned, having those restrictions on my account. But obviously now we've pushed through it. Still in the process, I'm still shadow banned, but I'm just not letting it, you know, bug me as much now, as I've found alternative ways to obviously generate leads. And yeah, the one thing with obviously what I do is my marketing, you know, which comes from, you know, my content. And without content, without getting eyes on my content, I don't generate any leads, and no leads for me, which is obviously clients, I don't make any money. So yeah, it's been a hard thing to overcome, but we got there in the end. But I'd definitely say, yeah, getting my account shadow banned and being restricted has been one of the hardest parts and probably the biggest struggle in my online journey. Now, another question we have, what's one key tip you'd tell your past self before you started? Damn, that's a good question. If I had to go back in time, the one piece of advice that I would tell myself is, whatever happens, keep your head up. With whatever happens, just keep your head up. Because I didn't realize, definitely at the start, how stressful entrepreneurship is and how difficult it can be at some stages. You know, I was having fights with my family. I was having fights with my girlfriend because I was working too much. You know, and then money, there was times where income wasn't consistent. And I had months where I didn't get, probably not months where I didn't get paid, but like 3-4 weeks, 2, 3, 4 weeks where I didn't get paid. And then I'm stressing out. I'm like, fuck, I'm not generating any money. What do I do? This and that. And just stressing out. Like, a lot of you see the success with every entrepreneur and every, you know, online money-making kid that you see. It's like you always see the success. You never see the struggles. And And trust me, every single person you see online that has made some sort of money or had some sort of success online has gone through a lot of struggles. Like, motivation's a big one. Sometimes you wake up in the morning, you're like, fuck, you don't feel good, but you have to show up every single day. And that's what some people don't understand. It's like, there's no rest days when it comes to this stuff. It really depends on how bad you want it. If you don't want it that bad, have a rest, But if you do, don't have a fucking rest, bro. You don't have time to rest. But yeah, with me, one key tip is just keep going. Don't let things affect you, because at the same time, everything will come back to normal. It just takes time, especially through the hard times and the things that I didn't expect to happen. It's like, just keep your head up and keep going, But yeah, killer question, man. Awesome question. All right, we got our next one here, which is what differentiates you from people who don't have what they want? What differentiates you from people who don't have what they want? Well, bro, to be honest, I definitely don't have what I want. I've got a lot of things that I need. Well, not I need, but I've got a lot of goals that I want to reach. I definitely don't have what I want. Trust me. But I'm working towards it. Do you know what I mean? I'm working towards it. And I think one thing that differentiates me from other people is that I actually have a vehicle that's going to get me to where I want and get me what I want. Whether, you compare that to normal people who have a normal 9-to-5 job or are working on an hourly wage or salary, whatever it might be, you're capped to a fixed amount. You can't make any more, you can't make any less. You can make less, of course, which is obviously if you have your days off and you go on leave and whatnot. But apart from that, I feel like what differentiates me is me being able to have my vehicle. Essentially, like, I've got my vehicle. I've got something that is going to be able to generate me $1 million. And I know that. With other people, it's like, no one's certain to be a millionaire. No one at all is certain to be a millionaire. That comes with a lot of hardship and having the right vehicle. You can't expect to be a millionaire working your normal job or playing it safe in life. If you're going to play it safe in life, you've got to understand the consequences that comes with. With me, I'm a risk taker. If I see an opportunity, I'm going to jump on it. Hence why I'm in the position that I'm in. And it amazes me that I've been able to get myself in the position that I'm in so quickly. I've done over $90,000 profit online within 9 months, which is, it's crazy to me. 8 months. Yeah, which is crazy to me, to be honest. Like, it just goes to show that if you have the right vehicle and you have something that is going to allow you to generate however much money you want, it's just about you doubling down and figuring out what works and obviously how to figure out how to scale. With normal people and normal people that are working a normal job, 9-to-5ers, construction workers, like I said, it's not that easy. You can't just scale. Like, at the end of the year, you're going to get a $3 pay rise and that's it. There's not much more you can get from that. Whether with me, I can go from making $10,000 a month to the next month making 20, the month after that making 30, the next month after that 40, 50, whatever it is. Obviously, that comes with, learning a lot, but that's how quick things can happen when you're talking about entrepreneurship. Like, that is how quickly things can genuinely change. But compared to working your normal job, you're going to get a $2, $3 pay increase the following year. It's just not worth it to me. So I feel like what actually differentiates me compared to other people is the vehicle that I have that's going to be able to drive me to the position that I want to be in and allow me to have what I want and get what I want. With other people, you live wondering, why don't I have what I want? And it's because of your job, to be honest. Like, that's it, And at the end of the day, everyone wants to change their job, but what you're not changing, you're choosing. So, for all of you that are watching this that are still working a normal job, just know that you are choosing it because you're not changing it. So, yeah, that was a bit of a yap. But anyway, apart from that, we got another question from my boy Lockie here, which is, do you find it hard to stay consistent? Not really, bro, to be honest. Not really. I don't find it hard to stay consistent because I've grown the routine, you could say. Like, I've grown the routine to stay consistent, to show up every single day. A massive thing that helps me in this book, this is my journal, right? This is my everything, man. I call it, it's called the Happy Man Journal. Now, in this, I write down absolutely everything, from how I'm feeling, what went well yesterday, my goals for today, positive affirmations, you know, how I'm feeling, and then I go on to schedule my day, right? And I feel like that's the main thing that has allowed me to stay consistent, which is scheduling out my day by the hour. So I'll go, you know, if I start at 9, I'll go from 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, so on and so forth. But I feel like for me is really locking in with those hours, you know. Like I planned this morning that I was going to film this video, for example, and I had a time blocked off where I'm going to film this video. And yeah, it's exactly what has allowed me to stay consistent. It is scheduling out my days. Full transparency, scheduling out my days and having the motivation to complete the tasks that I've written down in the morning. Because when I complete my tasks, and I go to bed at night and I'm happy because I got what I was supposed to do done, that's where I get my fulfillment. That's what makes me happy. Me going to bed and having a good night's sleep because I knew I got what I needed to done. But yeah, I've never really struggled to stay consistent. Obviously, there's been some roadblocks and whatnot, but consistency, I haven't so much struggled with. Motivation, yes, I have. But I've always pushed through, obviously, when I'm not feeling motivated. I know that I don't get a rest, and I know if I do, it's going to reflect on, you know, my next day. If I rest today, I know tomorrow is going to be shit. My fucking camera just died, so I had to hop off and charge it for about 10 minutes, but we'll move on. Anyway, next question, right? How did it feel when you hit your first 5-figure month? How did it feel when I hit my first 5-figure month? Now, I mean, for me, when I hit my first 5-figure month, it was like, I knew it was going to happen. So don't get me wrong. It felt good when I seen, oh my God, I've generated 5 figures this month. It's like everything that I was doing has started to pay off. And it was like, this is the start of, you know, the uptrend. But what happened was I felt on top of the moon. I achieved it and I was buzzing. But for me, I ended up spending a lot of money. I ended up going out and living life, living lavish, because I just hit 5 figures. When realistically, $10,000 a month is not that much. So when I hit my first 10K month, I went out, I was spending money unnecessarily, I was splurging my money on stupid shit. I wasn't locked in as much. You know, I wasn't getting a lot of work done. I was still getting work done, but I wasn't getting a lot done compared to what I was doing when I was working up towards making that 5-figure month. So I feel like for me, it felt amazing, but if I wanted to scale up, I mean, I could have doubled down and done 20 the following month, but I decided to go out and not lock in and become complacent. That's exactly what happened. I become complacent, and the result of me becoming complacent was my income dropped the following month. I went from having a 10K month, and I think it dropped down. It was like 6 or 7K the following month, where it could have been 20, instead of 10. But it's a learning curve. You hit your first 10K month, then you're buzzing like, fuck, life's awesome. You've got money to spend, and yeah. But realistically, if I was to go back in time, I would wake up every single morning like I've got $100 in my name, $100 in my bank to my name, and then work like I've got $100 in the bank, because when you work like you got $100 in the bank, you get a lot done. But yeah, if I could go back in time, that's exactly what I would do. But obviously it felt amazing hitting my first 10K month, but I beat myself up about it all the time. The fact that, I didn't double down and go even harder the following month. But yeah, it's a good feeling, but realistically, it shouldn't stop there. Once you hit your first 10K month, you should fucking do more hours, do more work, and double down and go to 20. But yeah, anyway. All right, now last question is, how can I get started? Now, simply, all you have to do is go to the description in this video, click the link that takes you to my Instagram, and then DM me the word work on Instagram, and then we'll genuinely have a chat, see where you're at in life, see what's working, what's not working, and see how we can help, and genuinely if we can actually help you. And if you go to the link below the link to my Instagram, there's going to be a link to my website, which is basically going to take you to my website where you can watch a 9-minute video of me explaining exactly what I do, how I'm going to help you, and what you're going to learn as well within the mentorship. So if you go to my website, which is nickcostanzox.com.au, you can have a look at that video, while also you can apply to work with us as well to see if you do qualify for our mentorship. If you do qualify, that's when we can jump on the phone and have a good one-on-one conversation. No, don't worry, it's not a high-pressure sales call. It's just a one-on-one call to see where you're at and see if what we can genuinely offer can help you out. So apart from that, I hope this video has been extremely valuable. Like I said, it was completely raw. No bluff, no bullshit. I didn't want to keep it long so I did only select 9 questions or 10 questions, I think. But yeah, I hope this video has been well, and I'll see you boys in the next one. We've got a heap of long form coming, especially valuable long form, free guides, online courses, free courses, I'm saying, literally YouTube videos. I've been cooking up a lot of long form frameworks, scripting as well. So there's going to be a heap of free game coming. So stay tuned for that. And if you want to be a part of the team, you know the drill. All right, let's do it.